Hey, welcome everybody to our post-interview editorial, and what would be more fitting with our own editorial discussing the editors, mainly Susan Gerbic, but others, of the Guerrilla Skeptics on Wikipedia. Okay, and that was it was an interesting show, was it not, guys? Pretty interesting.
You got lively there at the end. It was good.
Thank you, Susan, for being gracious enough to come on to our show, this little show called Cosmic Convergence, which is growing. By the way, everybody, like, subscribe, share. But we felt it was necessary to go ahead and have like kind of a post discussion about that interview, because there's certain things that either didn't make the edit, which again, we have the full, it was 3 hours. And again, thank you for being so gracious, Susan, and meeting us for 3 hours. That was phenomenal. But there was a lot of things that we just couldn't watch. We couldn't have in the edit, just as far as time restraints goes.
Mm-hmm.
So if I mention anything that isn't in that final product, and you need some more clarification on it, we can go ahead and put up further videos just explaining it. But it was. I just want to say here to everybody that was watching. Again, I hope that their speakers didn't blow out. I hope I didn't cause any eardrum damage. If so, I'm not responsible for that, because you should be mindful of your own volume on your videos. But I was, as you could say, animated. And one of the reasons why I was animated was because I had given, as far as I had felt, I had given Susan opportunities to, I wouldn't necessarily say that she didn't come clean, but to give more specific examples about who was doing some of the edits, who were these peers that she told me and she told us that we knew. But yet when I said who, she wasn't specific naming any names, and I'd like to get into that. But first off, I'd like to go ahead and pass it on to George, and just to give kind of like a brief overview before we get into specifics about how you felt that interview went, George.
Oh gosh, yes. Thank you, Susan, for agreeing to meet with us. And I know I contacted you a couple of months ago to have the interview, and want to extend our appreciation. And in a nutshell, it took us maybe about an hour or so to kind of understand her initial motivations into forming the Guerrilla Skeptics, as well as like her philosophy and like personal motivations for doing what she decides to do. And honestly, when I first heard her skepticism and rationale about wanting to debunk people in the I guess the consciousness community, like these psychics who have a track record of preying on vulnerable people and making money off of it, I thought that was a noble kind of thing to pursue. As the discussion progressed, when we asked more specific questions about the edits that she does along with Guerrilla Skeptics with the UAP field, I kind of got the sense that she was being a bit dodgy, even when we would ask certain questions and reframe them certain ways. Um, and yeah, like what John said, I think being animated, being animated is like it's a good way to describe just how the conversation went, because you can only ask so many different ways, and we're here for answers, and um, we're here to really understand, I guess, some of the specificities of why things are done a certain way when it comes to the UAP field.
Thank you, Susan, for coming on and actually interviewing with us and being able to talk. And because when it comes down to it, we're all trying to figure out what the truth is, and it's important for both experiencers and skeptics to be able to at least come together and talk. We can disagree on perspective, but that's the first step is get in the same room. So some of her heroes that she mentioned, I've watched documentaries on them debunking like early evangelical TV faith healers that were scamming people out of money and stuff, and that's like really noble. That has been really important for people like that to be able to come and weed out people that are trying to take advantage. But when you are in that, when you're in that vein for potentially too long with being super skeptical about everything that doesn't adhere to kind of what is taught in school or different things like that, it can potentially overwrite people's real experiences that are unexplainable. And this is the whole point of us as experiencers, contactees. We're trying to figure out what the truth is of the matter, and when you toss out half the story, you don't get to any truth. Things just stay the same.
And let's get into some more specifics about things that you brought up, Daniel. And I believe that the three of us, that those are important specifics. There were several times in the interview that I asked Susan, or I inferred that in order for people, when researching a topic, need to have as much information in front of them as possible. And she agreed, yes. Okay. That should include the side that the Guerrilla Skeptics of Wikipedia do not agree with. Okay. So instead of going in there heavy-handed, as the claims are, and I'll touch on this in a minute, okay, as the claims are by Rob Heatherly and others, of just going in and kind of just ham-fisting it and taking out anything that they disagree with. Now, on the surface level, that sounds preposterous, right? But actually, when it comes down to if one is to do some research on any given Wikipedia page, you don't even need to have the tools to look at what time edits were by who. You could just go to a page and see, and if you research it even a little bit, you're able to kind of find these individual threads that make this tapestry of skepticism. Okay. So when, for example, and I want people, again, you don't even need to have the tools. If you want to see how you can research this stuff, I go ahead and please watch episode 2 that we did. Whoa, I ghosted. Episode 2 that we did on Cosmic Convergence. It's called the Secret Cabal of Wikipedia. And there's a very brief summation about how you can research who did edits on what page at what time, and et cetera, et cetera. Won't get into that here. So if you were to, for instance, go to David Grush's page, which I went to, we all went to in January, okay, to see the edits that had been changed. And wow, I just went back to it before the Gerbic interview, and I saw so much more. Of course, more information has come out. Grush has talked some more, and so that's fair. But if you look at the dissension from the skeptical point of view, and people that are quoted in that page about David Grush and his testimony in front of Congress and what he stated is that he knows, one name in particular comes up, and that's Seth Shostak. I'll hold off on the Shostak redemption jokes. Okay. Seth Shostak, who is the senior astronomer for SETI. All well and good. Okay. Senior astronomer from SETI. Doesn't believe anything that Grush is claiming, says that, hey, where's the proof? But I want to first off say that he's the senior astronomer at SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. They have their dishes out there. They're looking for radio signals, all other kind of signals. They know the difference between a quasar. They know the difference between a supernova, et cetera, et cetera. That information comes back. They gather that information, and so much information that the last time I checked, they were actually letting the crowdsourcing it to anybody on their computer that wants to look and go through the data. And last time I did it, which was years ago, you could actually have it as a screensaver in the background. It would go ahead and try to translate the data. Great tool, by the way. But my question is He's also one of the most esteemed members of the Center for Inquiry, formerly known as the Center for Skeptical Inquiry. Now, why skeptical is dropped from that, I could only imagine. Probably maybe because of logistics and words. Skeptical is a bad word, and so we have to take that out. Maybe that's it. I don't know. Maybe they just wanted to shorten it, to save some breath, which I'm not known for doing, by the way. So anyway, he's one of the senior, most celebrated people, Seth Shostak, okay, within that community. Of course, the first question that comes to mind is, well, if you're the senior astronomer at SETI, if information's coming through that makes you go, oh, I wonder what that is, are you going to be able to be impartial when that data comes across your desk? Because you're head of a skeptic group. Not a head, but you're a major part of it. Major part of a skeptic group. And we're not talking a small little rinky-dink skeptic group here, okay? The Center for Inquiry, Skeptical Inquiry, last year it was like $5 million that they got as a nonprofit. Okay, and so when you look at this, this page for Grush on Wikipedia, and you see Seth Shostak quoted in it, you wonder, he's looking for life. He hasn't found it yet. So what's the main reason why he's saying that Grush is full of crap, essentially? Okay. Is he saying that because, well, SETI, I work for SETI and I want SETI to be the first one. And SETI hasn't picked it up, so he's full of crap. Or is he saying Grush is full of crap because I belong to this organization? Legitimate questions, right? So when I ask Susan, I say, Susan, who are my peers that you say I know? Who are the reliable secondary sources that do these investigations that these editors for Guerrilla Skepticism of Wikipedia quote? And if you were to look at that page, I haven't gone through every name, but there's several people that have been put in there to rebuke Grush's claims. Probably 80%. I'm just going to throw that out there, but I'm pretty confident about it. Probably 80% of those people named are also part of the Center for Inquiry. And that makes me wonder. I know that Susan was saying that when the Ross Coulthart fiasco came up, and it was Mr. Heatherly had brought up about how all his awards were taken out, and that part was we put that part in our interview with Susan. Okay, and that was from episode 2. Again, please watch it.
She was very dodgy about your request. It's a very fair request to ask for the names of sources, but yet she didn't come out with it. And even for this director of SETI, who's also involved with the Center for Skepticism or Skeptics, it seems as though there's a conflict of interest there.
Yes. And so here is the deal. Like, she was criticizing that people were going in to fix what they had removed from Ross Coulthart's page. Okay. And she likened them to flies descending, okay, on a corpse or poo or something. But she was referencing flies descending upon this page. Okay. Flies are kind of referenced, you think fly, you think maggots, right? Just, when you picture a whole bunch of flies descending on something. So one, that's rude. Okay. And we shouldn't get into that passive aggressive name calling, honestly. Okay. So, but when they're going to Grush's page, or they're going to fix, which means remove again, the awards from Coulthart's page, what they're doing is what she claims these other people were trying to do to fix his page, the opposite side. And that is to try to pander and say, hey, look at me, I'm special. Ross, I helped fix your page. But Guerrilla Skeptics of Wikipedia are doing the same thing for the umbrella group of Center for Inquiry. Spade's a spade, right? Can't You can't go ahead and critique one side and then your side be okay. Hey, let's be equal here. Let's be equal here. And so it's just like, who's trying to do this stuff? So she says, you know them, John. I don't know them personally. Okay. But you know them, John. They're your peers. Never mind that I don't have a Wikipedia page about me. I don't care if I have a Wikipedia page about me. Maybe some of you in the audience wish you could have a Wikipedia page. I don't care. So when I was like, okay, well, this is like the who's who book. And she says, well, no, it's not, because you have to pay to be in the who's who. And I'm like, but you have to pay to be in Wikipedia. And she's like, no. And I'm like, yes, it's known as other ways. Hey, good job there, buddy. Pat on the back, name recognition. Yeah, payment comes in several forms, guys. Does it not? Influence, money, power,
visibility.
Knowledge is the ultimate power.
Yes.
So I want people to ponder this. If they're going in and they're editing parts that they disagree with as skeptics, and they're putting in and quoting people that are highly respected in the skeptic community that may not even have the expertise, as George pointed out earlier, to edit the page that they're going to edit. Not saying that Seth Shostak doesn't have expertise. He's an astronomer, though. Okay, I don't know if his field is really, life on other planets as much as he's searching for them, or life coming here, or anything about the UFO phenomenon. But some of them, it's just like Mick West. No disrespect to Mick West. As I brought up, Mick West, you developed video games. I love video games, by the way. Not a Tony Hawk Pro Skater video gamer, but I like video games. And I know that what you did for the industry was great. But does that qualify you as somebody that can look at FLIR footage, go fast footage, and say, well, I've seen enough of these things that I could say that it's likely means it can be, or it might not be, likely a Mylar balloon, or it's not going as fast as they say they are. And, couple that, not with his words, but maybe Ms. Gerbic's words, and that is just, you don't know the psychological problems that these people in the military, or people anywhere for that matter, under any profession, are having. And these poor sick people, I feel so sorry for them, because they believe they experienced something, but they really didn't. Well, were you there is my next question. Were you there? Did you have an opportunity to be in the same room with them, or be in the fighter jet, or be anywhere? No, you didn't. Of course not, right? I couldn't be there anyway. I can't make that judgment call. And a lot of it's about judgment call. So when it comes down to them taking these pieces out of these pages, they're controlling the narrative. And when you control the narrative, the power is in your hands. And of course, you don't want to relinquish it. So it would be almost ludicrous, even though I'm going to put it out there. And who am I? I don't have my own Wikipedia page. But I'm going to go ahead and put it out there that it's true, though, right, guys? Because she said, I don't have enough influence.
Yeah,
I'm
as
not here
if
for,
you're not having.
But Mr. and Mrs. and titles we shouldn't be paying attention to those, right? That's what she told us.
Doctorates, but the
Yeah,
therapist
those are not
that's
supposed to be on
trying to
Wikipedia.
help,
Why should we pay attention?
the therapist that's trying to help somebody get over the loss of a loved one, that's okay. They're a doctor, they're a therapist, they're licensed. Okay. But this doctor over here that researches the phenomenon is not. We don't put those names in there. We don't put those accolades, those awards. It's not like they won the knitting contest at the state fair. It's not like they won the bake sale in the neighborhood. There's a big difference between writing and exposing crimes and murders like Ross Coulthart did in a bake sale. Honestly. So I want the whole reason is I'm not going to go out on the battlefield and carry the standard for this side or this side. That's not my job. The reason why I wanted, and I'll turn it over to you guys here. The reason why I wanted to do this interview, and that we want to interview Rob Heatherly, is so that both sides of the aisle can have the information out there, so people can make their own decisions. As of right now, when I said in that episode, in that interview, that Wikipedia is garbage, that it's swill, that it's trash. I wish to go ahead and correct myself. Wikipedia is garbage. It's trash. It's swill because of guerrilla skepticism on Wikipedia, because they are taking out information from one side, injecting their own, locking these threads down, silencing the other side. And like I said, I know this is a long shot, but I got to put it out there. If you want to really do the right thing, you'll allow on these Wikipedia pages one perspective and then your perspective. You could have your perspective on the top, but you have both perspectives. That's how you let it be the best information possible for the public, and not just America, across the world. Stop gatekeeping. And when you say that, well, so-and-so that edited this page, they're not part of my team of 120 or 100 plus editors. Well, how do I know that? I don't know that. So, you know what? Don't just help me out. Help the public. You know, show an olive branch to Mr. Heatherly. You say that, you know, Mr. Heatherly says that Lucky Louie is not Mick West. Tell you what, you don't have to put who the real person is, but make a list out for everybody. Okay, here's the 100, 120 plus people that we have with Guerrilla Skeptics. Here are their names. That way, if we go and we research a page on Wikipedia, we can go, oh yeah, that person is not part of Guerrilla Skeptics. Because I don't want anybody, including myself, to lump somebody that is not associated with Guerrilla Skeptics of Wikipedia into your group. If they're just off their rocker, if they're doing edits, you know, that aren't sound, yeah, I don't want to associate them with you guys, right? Because you're doing sound editing, right? You're doing sound, precise, skeptical editing.
Ever since I was a teenager, I was told never to use Wikipedia as a resource, like to study. And I think that's really telling. If you could have both sides of the information, that would be fantastic. So you could actually get a little bit more of what you're actually researching.
You have to make sure that you keep it balanced. You're not balanced at all. Okay. You can't claim that one side is completely imbalanced and then you go around and you're completely imbalanced, because the way I'm looking at it, even as a believer and an experiencer, you're both crazy. Okay. And I want to say this. I want to thank you, Susan, because you validated some of the things that I feel. We agree on a lot of things. When I asked you if science knows everything, you said no. And that, I said, is science perhaps not mature enough to understand this phenomenon? And you said, yes, we're always science is always changing, like love and this. Yes. And when it was asked of you whether, life existed in the universe, you said, well, of course, we know that. And that strikes me as interesting. Now, I'm not saying that someone's come to you with special information that you're hiding from the American public as far as NHIs and stuff. No, I'm not saying that. But what that answer said to me is that the universe is so large that whether it be a microbe or whether it be a fish, as you said, or whether it be as something that's actually sentient, okay, it's so big that the law of averages would state that there's life within the universe. So when you said that, I went, okay, but where's the proof of that, Susan? If you look at the Fermi paradox, I mean, we got nothing, right? So where is that non-skepticism coming from? Because if you were to take the law of averages, which is what I kind of believe is based off of your answer, then with the phenomena in a law of averages, some of it is going to be legitimate. It only takes 1% of the phenomena to make it real. To make it not real, to make it fake, you need 100% accuracy. That's a tall task for all of you in that group. I feel sorry that you have to take on that task. It's monumental. Hats off to you. But I'm glad that you and no, I mean, really, seriously, in order to take something that you have to be at 100% correct on all the time, I mean, am I brave enough to put that on my shoulders? I don't know. But I will say that, we agreed on several things. And I want you to take into perspective again that humanity, no matter how skeptical we are, or no matter how woo or crazy we are, as a species, we still depend upon ritual practices. Like, again, someone's in mourning, hey, write a letter at your table. Every time you have them at breakfast, we would sit down with them at breakfast time to let them go. That's a ritual. Put it in a jar, do whatever you need to do to cope as a coping mechanism. That's a ritual. And rituals are not the skeptic way of going through things. So I'm glad that we can actually agree on a few things. That gives me hope. That gives me hope. But again, I think I've said as much as I can say for this. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it's definitely not that, because this is still going on. It's been going on, as she said, since 2011. And we're in 2024 now. I want to thank the Good Trouble Show. And I want to thank Rob Heatherly for bringing that to my attention. Okay, because I there's so much in this field, it's hard to catch all of it. And I'm glad that you guys did your diligence in at least bringing it to the attention of some people. And I think that if anybody calls himself a serious researcher, or if someone is serious about this field, about getting disclosure, about finding out what people are reporting and all that, whether it end up being a prosaic explanation or not, unfair criticism of other people that are trying to bring the truth out by stopping the silence of information. Because I know that the whole reason why we're trying to get down to this is not just for me, not just for Daniel, not just for George, not just for our wonderful Discord community, which you should join if you haven't yet. Cosmic Convergence Discord rocks the house. I want to thank everybody from Cosmic Convergence Discord. But for future generations, if you're serious about this field, okay, and you've been following it for X amount of years, and you got kids or you got grandkids, okay, and you pass on, well, I was a believer, I was, a researcher, I was an experiencer, but I didn't speak up when the information was being silenced, then your grandkids and their kids' kids and their kids' kids are going to be stuck in the same cycle of disinformation, misinformation, and control. And you don't speak anything out about it, but rather bash the people that are trying to bring this stuff out. Shame on you. Shame on you. You are not true to who you are. And that's the last thing I'll say about that.
Those are excellent thoughts. And, when I reflect on this interview that we had with Miss Gerbic, I can't help but laugh to myself because, I'm left with the impression that Susan Gerbic is she's elevated herself in terms of status and purpose as a self-appointed arbiter to be a filter of what she and her group considers as truth. And for her to make such comments to suggest that people who are trying to get some clarity on the UAP issue, that the reason why they go public is because they're mentally unstable or because they want to be famous or make money. I mean, that just shows your bias. That just shows inherent bias, that's already there. And I find it ironic because it doesn't leave room for explanation of anything else. And the thing is that when we brought up instances of some of these tweets and feedback from other people that have taken issue with their work, and in response, Susan Gerbic herself would kind of like egg them on in the way that she responds, in the tone. It's like, she's just trying to lure them in, in some ad hominem attacks or inferences. And it's almost as like, she was getting a kick out of that, out of this negative attention. And for her to suggest that Wikipedia is on the same level as that of an encyclopedia. I mean, come on. Like, throughout the interview, towards the end, she was saying, "Oh, nobody's going to watch this. I'm not important enough." Sort of like underplaying
Mm-hmm.
her influence. She knows exactly what she's doing. She knows exactly what kind of negative attention and press that she generates from playing this hardcore skeptical side, right? I find it odd when, we talked about bias, and we talked about also what she would consider in terms of expertise or somebody that's knowledgeable with the subject matter. In the initial email that we had when we were corresponding with each other, um, she stated that she focuses more, and her expertise is more on the psychic skepticism and not the UAP issue. But correct
Correct.
me if I'm wrong, Daniel or John, but did she mention somewhere in our interview that she's somewhat of an expert with regards to debunking UAP claims?
She found it fascinating. She found
Fascinating.
fascinating and very intriguing. And now I may say very intriguing, but the way she said fascinating was, oh, it's just such a fascinating subject. But she also said that Ross Coulthart didn't even come up on her radar as a target until all the news started coming out about him. So I want people to pay attention to that interview, because target is a very strong word. Okay, it's not an issue, it's not a personality, it's not an individual, it's a target. Target implies attack it, right? The military doesn't say, hey, I want you to go ahead and focus your missiles on that building over there that's pink and it's got red, and or that structure over. It says go for the target. Saddam Hussein was the target in Iraq War, right? So when we use terminologies like that, target, that implies something. And there was another word that she had used in there for another page, which I can't recall right now.
It
But
also
you're right.
reminds me. It also reminds me about this target terminology that she used in reference with Ross Coulter. I remember reading a couple of her web pages, as well as some interviews that she's done. They use the term asymmetrical warfare.
Mm.
So asymmetrical warfare, when it comes to a military sort of definition, is using any kind of methodology, any kind of tactic or technique to accomplish your goal, or in this
Right.
case, to eliminate a target.
Right.
So if they're going to be engaging in some of these unscrupulous and like not very respectable ways to kind of push their skeptic agenda by suggesting that people who are into the UAP field are loons or nut jobs or mentally unbalanced, not giving credit where it's due. Again, it points to their inherent bias with their approach.
Well, yeah, and they're very to some extent they're extremely transparent. In other extents, they're not at all. Like who they are, I don't care. Okay, but like what exact edits? Yes, you kind of have to dig, but again, if you have the proper online tools, like X Tools is one of them. Okay, and you know how to go, again, episode 2. But let's look at the name of her group itself. Well, it's Guerrilla, as in guerrilla warfare.
Mm-hmm.
Are there
Mhm.
any rules aside from make sure that you don't stand in line formation like during, the Revolutionary War? Okay, that's about the only rule in guerrilla warfare. Don't stand in line so you just get picked off easily. After
No
that,
rules of engagement. Anything goes.
anything goes. Okay, so they're telling you all. I mean, when I saw the name of the organization, I was like, well, yeah, anything goes. Guerrilla Skeptics. The logo's got a gorilla, but it's not a misspelling. It's gorilla spelled as in like third world countries.
Guerilla.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, they're transparent. Hey, anything goes. Any rules, we will win, and that's dirty pool. They're not playing by fair pool. If they're playing by fair rules, then they would have both sides of the perspective on each given page. So yeah, when we use terminology like target, and when again you go through some of those emails and some of those messages where they have back and forth, and the gloating and everything else, she's enjoying it. Sometimes people believe that bad attention is better than no attention at all. Okay, because she's getting good attention from Center for Inquiry. That they're loving this, and I'm sure that they're funding it. I'm sure that they're all nonprofit. Again, I don't know about Skeptical Inquirer magazine, but the rest, yeah, they're definitely nonprofit, and it's just trickling down.
But why though? Why go through such great lengths to discredit something that they don't know much about? Why go through all of this effort? Why create so much drama to cover the fact that we want to get to the truth? Why hide and obfuscate things with these edits?
Right.
Why go to these lengths?
Because skepticism isn't what it used to be.
How so?
Skepticism isn't really about finding the answers by having all the data in front of you and analyzing it. Skepticism is just about one side telling you the way it is, and try to use any scientific data that they may have come across. And that's why it was important for her to say, yeah, no, I mean, yeah, science is always evolving. So being right. I mean, really, honestly, right? That was a big admission. And thank you, ma'am. Thank you for doing that, because it's true. But what it is just like, instead of like, hey, let's go ahead and investigate this with an open mind. Open mind doesn't mean that you believe everything. I believe in the phenomena. I've experienced things in the phenomena, but everybody that comes in and out of the door that talks about their phenomena experience, I don't believe them. And I say that most Americans and most people that are in the field are the same way. You're going to have a few outliers that believe everything they hear. Okay. But majority, we don't need for you to tell us what the right answer is. And that's what skepticism is now, especially in that community. Or else, again, all the information would be able to be available for us, and we would be able to use our own personal discernment when coming to a conclusion. So it's
John,
just,
you know what? Before I lose this thought, what I think it is, and Daniel, correct me if I'm wrong, but did you ask her if she had a personal experience with the phenomena herself?
I did, and she said no, she had not. She never had any type of encounter like that. I thought was fairly telling of that she's never had to question her sense of reality.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying that the reports about this stuff are right. I'm not saying that my gut feeling about this is right. But what I do realize that within my life is when I didn't pay any attention, or I had my mind closed, we'll say for better descriptor. When I had my mind closed to such things throughout my life, I didn't experience jack. When I started opening my mind and not being closed-minded, that's when I started experiencing things. Not every day, not every minute, not every month, not every year, but I started to. I think there is something there. I just don't know if she really realizes it or not. And if there isn't, hey, that's okay. We must always have a curious mind. That's what skepticism's about too. I always hear the skeptic community,
But that's what science is about too.
yes, that's what science is about too. I would hope that any self-respecting scientist would know that and would profess that from the mountaintops. I mean, honestly, if there was nothing there, then why are you guys fighting so hard, right? And it goes with the government. I'm not saying you guys are tied in with the government. Yeah, there's probably a few of you are. A few of you are, and good for you. I don't care, honestly. But it's like the government. Oh, there's nothing there, but we're going to fight it tooth and nail to make sure that nobody knows what we're doing for national security, right? So why are you guys fighting tooth and nail to make sure that information isn't out there? Knowledge is power. If we have anybody in positions like Seth Shostak that is in a position, laugh if you want, guys, but it's true. It's in a position to actually be part of an organization that works hand in hand with NASA. I'll leave that. You guys can use your discernment on that one. To me, it's never a straight answer. That works along with NASA and scours the galaxies and the universe for these potential alien signals. One, you may not be catching it because they're using different technology. Oh, John, how could you say that? Well, again, I mean, we all know that there's life in the universe. Of course. We know this, right? Okay. So let's say that they have some technology we don't know. What's our technology? It's like sticks and stones compared to probably some of these other ones in the universe, whether we have contact with them or not. Okay. If you're going in with the perspective that you're not going to find anything, Seth, buddy, from one of us people that are unimportant without having a Wikipedia page, not your words. I'm just talking about us people that are, that are the peasants unto which you throw the chicken bones down off out of your castle windows that you think that we scavenge over and sell on eBay. Like, I got a piece of chicken bone that Seth Sostek or Susan Gerbic nibbled on, and I want to sell it for a meager $500 so I can feed my kids. And you're sitting in that position of authority and going and telling high school students, grade school students, college students, as you are, Seth, and telling them that, oh, the universe is amazing, and it is. The universe is beautiful, and it is. But these people that say that we could potentially be visited throughout the annals of history of every culture on this planet and say they don't exist, you're doing a disservice because you're the senior astronomer at SETI. You need to be replaced. And then I seriously question, even if I wasn't a believer, I would seriously question why you're so prominent in that program if you don't believe in Jack, which means that, again, any of that information that comes to your desk, which might be like the wow signal, okay, that might come across, you're going to go, oh, poo-poo. And you're just going to toss it to the side because it doesn't fit your skeptic narrative. And
Exactly.
what would the people at the Center for Inquiry think about you if you suddenly took that podium in front of NASA, in front of college students, high school students, grade school students, and said, well, we just got this readout, and it's not ours. You would never do it. You would never do it. But the way that social media is going right now, the way the internet's going right now, the way that Wikipedia is garbage, you got to be able to do your own research. Until they do better, it will remain that way. And I said in 5 years, it will be within 5 to 10 years. I'll extend it a little bit because I want to give you guys the opportunity to fix it. If you don't fix what you're doing, no one will think it's a reliable source, not just college professors and college students.